Hey guys, this is V2 Vengeance, and today I will be making a review of the tier 10 German tank destroyer, the Waffenträger auf E100. And this is a very unique tank. There isn't really anything you can compare it to. You could say that there are tier 10 tank destroyers that are pretty similar in a matter of armor, for example the FV 4005. But still, that thing has a very inaccurate and high damage per shell gun, whereas this tank has a very accurate gun and an autoloader. The MX-54-155 also has an autoloader, but that thing has got armor, so basically this tank is pretty much a very unique combination. And it's actually a combination that pays out pretty well, so right now I think this is my favorite tier 10 tank destroyer. And that being said, let's get straight into the effects. I'm not going to pause the video at any time. I'll try to make it full from start to the end. And probably I'm also only going to pause it where the gameplay is going to start, because there isn't really any other way I can do that. So let's get straight into the facts. It's got 12,000 health points. And by the way, I started talking a little bit in a higher voice, actually not even a higher voice, louder, because some people complain about the vents from my computer. They also annoy me very much. For example, I can hear them from the kitchen when my computer is on. This is exactly how loud it is. So I decided that I'll just talk very loudly when recording, and in the end, when I'm editing the video, I will just lower the audio volume from my voice, which is also the vent. So in the end, you'll hear my voice normally, and the vents very fade in the background. I hope so, at least. So let's get to the stats. This thing has 2000 health points, which is the second most of any tier 10 tank destroyer after the Superheavy 100 that has 2200. It has, and also the T110 E3 has 2050. So yeah, it's actually the third with 2000 straight. And when it was first introduced, it has 2200. It got nerfed, not only on that, but also in accuracy, but we'll get to that later. So it has 101 tons, and because it has 1200 horsepower engine, it can reach a top speed of 40 kilometers per hour with a traverse speed of 26 degrees per second. So this is, for a tank that weighs 100 tons, I think the fastest tank of 100 and more tons. And this means that this is a pretty good ramming machine. You're going to ram, and a lot of the times people won't realize exactly how much damage you can inflict to them by ramming. Most of the time you don't want to be that close to a target that you can ram it. It means probably you're either the only one on your team, or you're playing the tank wrong. But we'll get to the gameplay in a second. Hull armor. When you get to the hull armor, it looks really good. 200 at the front, 120 at the sides, 150 at the rear, which is only this area here. The lower plate, of course, the 150 millimeters on the lower plate. But really, why this tank doesn't have any armor is because of the turret, because it has 20 millimeters of armor at the front, 10 at the sides, and 8 at the rear. So absolutely any tank in the game with high explosive shells is going to penetrate you. Even the T1 Cunningham with that stock 37mm gun that it's so short, it barely comes out of the turret. If that thing is shooting HE, it is going to penetrate your turret. So that being said, it means you have to be extremely careful for artillery, and you're going to need a SPOA liner. Moving on, we've got the most interesting part of this tank, the gun, which is, in my opinion, the best gun in the game at the moment. This 128mm Canone L61. This gun was even more OP a couple of patches ago, when it had 6 shots in its magazine instead of 5. Imagine how OP was that. You could destroy a mouse in one clip. So it reloads 2 seconds between shots, so like a T57 heavy. It has very good penetration, 276. This is the Egg Tiger, basically the Egg Tiger gun with an autoloader. 560 average damage, which is for a tank destroyer not that much. the second worst after the Object 263, but it has an autoloader, the best accuracy in the game of 0.29 basically. And I just bought this tank. Every shot that I was missing, I was like, well, I paid for 0.29 accuracy. It's like I have to hit every single shot. You're going to see that you're going to hit most of your shots. I don't have like 90% hit ratio with this tank, or let's say 80%, simply because I've been playing, when I bought the tank, a lot with the 150mm, which is not that accurate with. And we'll get to that gun in a second. This gun has 1.5 seconds aiming time, which is very good. However, when you're traversing the turret, the aiming circle is going to increase by a lot. When the tank was first introduced, it was not a problem, and you could basically shoot while moving without any problems. So the APCR ammunition, the gold round, is also pretty good, 352mm, but you're not really going to need that. Only, for example, if you're left against a mouse or an E1, let's say an E100 that it's full HP. You know, this is the only case when you're going to need APCR rounds. Other than that, the AP rounds will just do fine. So, that being said, you can notice that this is the most accurate gun in the game. Very, very good aiming time. And combining that with the 380 meters view range, which in the last patch was 420, it was the best view range in the game. Right now it has been nerfed, it's not that good, but still this is a sniping tank because of that gun and because of the fact that it has no armor with the 128mm gun, because if you get to the second gun, the 150, the tank changes. So first of all, it's got 4 shells in the clip instead of 5. It reloads 3 seconds between shots instead of 2, but it does take 8 seconds less time reloading, so it takes 50 seconds of reloading instead of 58, which sometimes can make a difference. Penetration is a lot lower than on the other gun. It is basically the E100 gun with an autoloader, 235mm of penetration and 344 with gold rounds, 750 average damage with normal and gold rounds, 950 HE, 0.34 accuracy. This is, I think, the best accuracy for a 15cm gun in the game, and 1.9 seconds aiming time. Again, the best aiming time for a 15cm gun. Now, this gun really changes the tank to a more aggressive playstyle, where you need to stay back and wait for your moment. When your moment comes, when you see that the enemies are distracted, you go in, you put that 3000 damage that one clip can hold, and you just obliterate them. The thing is, the difference between those two guns, the main difference really is the penetration, because a lot of the times with the 15cm gun you will find yourself, for example, when firing at an IS-4, if he angles correctly, you won't have a chance to penetrate him, not even one. With the 128mm, on the other hand, you will pretty much penetrate with every shot. And also, APCR rounds, in my opinion, I think are better rounds compared to the heat rounds. So overall, I recommend the 128mm gun over the 150, also because I tend to have a lot better games in this 128 gun compared to the 150. Other than that, those are the stats. So moving on, we are going to see the equipment. So I definitely recommend the Superheavy Spotliner, because this tank is really going to need it against artillery. Artillery is going to aim at you all the time. You need binoculars, because this is a sniping time, and also camouflage net, because a lot of the times you're going to really want to not get spotted. This is basically the gameplay of this tank. If you get spotted, you gotta get out. And you can pretty much, I think you can replace camouflage net with, not really, never buy it. If you buy this on the Waffenträger, sell your account, because with 1.5 seconds aiming time, there isn't really much you would like to improve the aiming time. I mean, I understand that the turret, when you move the turret and the hold, the aiming circle can get bigger, but there are a lot of things that need improving much more than aiming time. And for example, let's see, unfortunately you can't really buy a Vents because this is an open top vehicle. So let's see, I've already got how do you call it, view range, Fuel tank durability, don't really care. More durability doesn't really matter. So overall, I think this combination is the best. You could say that it might work, but I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it at all. Your health is much more valuable than your aiming time, because this tank by default has a very good aiming time. And for the crew, first of all, you need 6th sense for your commander. This is like the most important thing that you need, 6th sense. After that, you need camouflage, because this tank really needs to stay ninja as much as possible. You need repairs, because in the case where, let's say, artillery splashes you and tracks you, and you need to run away and use your repair kit and somebody else tracks you again, you really need to move as fast as possible, because if this tank is set in place and enemy tanks can see it, you're pretty much dead in less than 10 seconds. And for the third round of kills, it's... I don't know what this Bradicina is doing here. I have no idea. Forgive me for that. So for the third round of skills, let's see. I've got here Recon, basically for bigger view range, because this tank is a sniper. Snapshot to increase that accuracy while the turret is rotating. Smooth ride, because also they nerfed the accuracy while the tank is moving, so you need to improve that also. Situational awareness, this improves the radio range. You need to know the map very well. You need to see what's going on the map, where your team needs support, because you can change flanks in this tank pretty easily, and you need to decide where your team needs the most health. Adrenaline rush here, because sometimes the T-92 is going to hit you, but he's not going to kill you. He's going to let you leave on about 50 health, and in that case you're going to camp somewhere and want your guy to reload as fast as possible, because this is one of those tanks where, for example, if you get in a very sticky situation where with the normal tank you'd be able to fire once and then die, with this tank you'll be able to fire full clip most of the time, which is going to mean you'll do about 3000 damage. So unless you are camping somewhere and the artillery kills you, you're going to do pretty good in battles. And last but not least, let's see the grind. So let's go to the grind of this line. As you can see, I'm going to talk to the grind about from tier 5, because this is where it is. In fact, the grind splits here, but I'm not going to talk about lower tiers. So the grind overall is a very, very enjoyable grind. I think this was the fastest grind that I ever made, because all the tanks that when I played each and every single one of those tanks, I just enjoyed them very, very much. Panzer SFL 4C, from the beginning they start training you for the glass cannon that the Waffenträger E100 is, and the armor pretty much stays the same from tier 5 up to tier 10, but yeah, the guns keep getting better and better and better. And yeah, so as I was saying, I think this is a line that I would recommend the most. If I were to recommend a line to someone, it would be probably this line, but you really need to know how to play glass cannons very well, because if you don't, I would recommend the 100 line. So yeah, and let's see, I'm gonna go here to vehicles, and average experience per battle, as you're going to see my top vehicles, a tortoise. Here we go, Rheinmetall Borsig Waffenträger of Panzer IV. As you can see, 1925 and 1950 average experience per battle. The Waffenträger E100 I haven't got so much, simply because it's a tank that you need to learn to master, because most of the glass cannons either have very good camouflage, like the Waffenträger Panzer IV or the Rheinmetall. Actually, the Waffenträger's camouflage has been nerfed, but still, I think it's still got a pretty decent camouflage. I know a person that is going to say I'm stupid is going to swear at me for saying that, but still, I still think that. Other than that, it's pretty hard, because it has an autoloader, and a lot of the times you won't know what you're doing. You'll just go there and you're gonna die. You're going to make some damage, but still you're not going to get so much, because you're going to die pretty quickly. So this has been the garage review part of the tank, and we're going to get into some gameplay of mine, and then I'm going to show some gameplay from somebody else. So we're going to get to some gameplay now. We are on Ruinberg, so the first thing that you want to think, I'm going to pause the video here. The first thing when you get into a battle with this tank, you're gonna think, where is the best place that you can go on this map, where you can shoot at enemies and you will not be spotted, or in the case where you are spotted, even though let's say it's the least it has the smallest chance of you getting spotted. Even though if you get spotted, you will still have room to cover. So mainly town is not a good idea, because in town basically if you want to shoot at somebody, you will be spotted. Is not a good idea, especially if there is artillery. So the spot that I'm going to recommend for all of you guys on this map in the Waffenträger is right here on this rock. It doesn't matter if it's artillery or not, this is a very good position. Now the logic between this tactic is the thing, you want to clear this village, and after this village is secure, or basically if you can park your tank here, the half of your mission is accomplished. Now the second part of it will be covering the town. Now there are two options: either the fight is here, so you stay here and you punish everyone that is trying to go forward, or the enemies are pushing, so you're staying somewhere around here where those two things are starting to try to cover this area, or if your allies are pushing, you're just going to go forward and flank from here. So as you can see, I see that there is only one medium tank there, so I decide to move on. It doesn't look like there are any things there, so I spot my first victim, the T-95. I put one shot, unfortunately it passes, second one doesn't, and unfortunately I don't really manage to get more than 2 shots, but even so I managed to get 1000 health from a tank that on this city map is going to be a very dangerous opponent. Now as you can see, there are only 2 medium tanks there. I see an E100, I don't manage to really to get a shot off. So when I notice that, I see that also the town is pretty much collapsing. So the second I notice that, I start reloading and I'm heading for my next position. Every single the game that they have on a Waffenträger, you want to help your team, so you want to dish out as much damage as you can, but you need to find the perfect position, and on some maps it can be very difficult to do that. For example, right now on El Haluf, most of the fight is going on at the heavy tank corner, somewhere around A1. Actually it's not even A1 how El Haluf looks, I think it's more like A0. And basically that position is, you can't really snipe there. You can't really snipe because there are a lot of rocks. You need to be in the open, and you open yourself up to artillery. Now I get spotted, so I first up, I look to see who spotted. I know it can be somewhere from forward, so I look up, I hide after the house, and now I'm pretty much reloaded, so I'm ready to put my gun to work. I want to finish off as many low health targets as possible. I was pretty unlucky with the 2 shots, but the next 2 shots managed to finish off the Foch, and with the other one I finished the T-54. So right now I fired, I'm reloading, so I back away. You need to try and skip as much as your health as possible, because every single tank that you're going to meet, if the enemy tank knows 10 seconds prior to meeting you that he's going to meet you, he's going to load HE. So you really need to keep as much of your health as possible. So right now scores is looking pretty good in our advantage. The thing is, as you can see, the town is not looking very well. So I come around again, I notice there is that FV, also the Object 704 said that he needed help. So I'm ready to help my team fight this FV. I'm ready to sacrifice an entire clip, even though some of the shots will miss, to kill this FV, because I know he's a very dangerous target. So he moves a little bit backwards, and that's going to be the deadly decision for him. He dies, I have 1 shot left. I go to see if I can make any of it, if I can make use of it. It doesn't really look like there isn't anybody here. So if you're sure you're not going to need it badly, you need to go for a reload. I was still aiming, I thought there was somebody there that was not spotted. Turns out it wasn't. So, still keeping my shot. Pretty soon I'm going to start the reload over again. And there we go, I started the reload. Now, while you're reloading, even though you're not really, you need to change the position usually when you're reloading. You need to see where your team needs you the most. So there are two possible positions right now, either here or here, but it doesn't really look like as if and right now, to be honest, right now I had lag. I had some internet problems. So as you can see right now, my game came back, and I noticed a couple of enemies in my front, so I killed the S7 quickly. I know there is an FV there, and I blind shot him to death. Now that was a really important kill, killing that FV. So as you can see, this tank can do extremely quick work of tanks. There were 2 tier 10 heavy tanks, one of them on 900 health, the other one on 400, and I just finished them off in 4 or 5 seconds. So this is the power of Waffenträger. And shooting at that distance, let's see how much distance were they at. About 400 meters, it wasn't really a problem. As you can see, with this accuracy, only when shooting at that FV I missed. And 2 unlucky shots into the Foch. They were very unlucky. So I noticed that the game is pretty much over, so I finally move out of the base. What a camper I am. And I noticed the T100 was moving through here. I know he's not going to try to cap. He still thinks he has a chance, maybe he doesn't know how much health I am probably. I'm going to pay him a surprise. So I notice him, he shoots me once with hit ammunition, or I shoot once him in the lower place, second one. I miss once, I bounce one, but I'm sure, I know I had 2 shells left. There wasn't really a chance he could survive. And I managed to finish him off by shooting on the inner side, not on the outer side where the angle was bigger. So in a tank, when you're firing a tank into a tank at this position, you want to be firing in this area and not here. So I managed to pick up a top gun. I did a pretty big amount of damage, and let's see that. So you could see my gameplay was really passive. I was staying backwards. I wasn't showing myself. I managed to get spotted, I think once, when I was there and I was behind the houses, and that medium tank there spotted me. That was the only time in the game, except for now at the end, where obviously I got spotted. So I didn't manage to lose any health. This is how you want to play the Waffenträger. It can be pretty boring for some of you, but I think it's a pretty exciting, because you learn how to dose your health. For example, in this situation, if there were 3 enemy tanks left instead of 1, for example, so you could see that my allies pretty much killed everyone before the T100. If I knew T100 was alone, I would have still attacked him, because I knew I could sacrifice about 700 of my health to kill him. So you want to make those kind of sacrifices, but only if it's late game and you know that you're not going to need that 700 health that you're going to sacrifice. This is why you need to keep as much health as possible during the entire game, because there is going to be a moment when you're going to need it. So that being said, let's see the post-game stats from this game. So I did manage to get it. This wasn't without with a premium account to make it sure. So I did manage to get a top gun, only message base second class. So this proves that people do really well in this tank, and a fire for effect. So let's see the team scores. I got 5,600 damage and scored 6 kills. As you can see, I didn't get as much experience. For example, I think I was only the 3rd or 4th, simply because absolutely no damage upon detecting. All those guys did that spotting damage for me. As a Waffenträger player and overall as a tank destroyer player, you pretty much share the experience with the players that spot for you. They spot, you kill. Everybody gets their part. And detailed report, 21 shots fired, only 16 hit. And this doesn't really show the accuracy that well, simply because, as you can see, when firing at that Foch, it was really unfortunate that I missed. And secondly, when I was firing at the FV, I was shooting at a really small portion of him, and still I managed to hit half of the shots in that situation. So there's that. I pretty much managed to get shot at only once by the T100. As you can see, this was standard, and with a premium count it would have been 1400 experience. I did manage to get a loss of 700 calories, but still, what can I say? It was a pretty decent game. I managed to pick up a Top Gun, so I thought it was a pretty good game to show for the review of this tank, so you could see how I think you should be playing this tank and how it really pays off for me. Because before I wasn't really playing the tank like this, but when I started playing very cautiously, I started, for example, you can see right now on the tank I have the Mark of Excellence. I started getting the Mark of Excellence, so there is that. And I also got about 2 ace tankers. And that being said, let's see some other gameplay. So we've got here D-Game 97. I'm gonna call him shortly Game. And as you can see, he's playing the Waffen trigger right. When you're starting on mines, you're gonna think, where can I drive and be the furthest away from the battlefield, but in the same time be able to do damage. So, and the result of this thinking is a hill. You could go there, but there is a possibility that you're going to get spotted, so by default is not a good position for a Waffen trigger. And let's see, he's almost reloaded. There is a D75 there, T123, T125, sorry, actually. He has the zoom in mode, which I think for this tank is really useful. And he has a very slight shot of that WZ there. Bad shot coming around. He manages to put one shot into the bad shot. Probably the bad shot didn't spot him because he was hidden over a lot of cover. Also, as you can see, while aiming at this T125, there are some trees between him and the T125, so the T125 can't spot him when he's firing. So the game is looking pretty tight right now. His team has gone around the map pretty well, and why I say not only that, but personally I've been encountering a lot of lemming trains lately, and when I mean a lot, I do mean a lot. I mean, like, I'm not even exaggerating, more than half of my games have been lemming trains. What is that? So yeah, him having a team this good and the enemy team also not lemming training, that's pretty nice to see. And we've got last shot against an E75. As you can see, the accuracy of this gun just hitting that target at that range right in the cupola. So now we're going through the reload. I'm gonna fast forward the replay. Score is 1-1, and he's almost reloaded. And for example, in this kind of situation, I would also go for the kill. He knows he's probably not going to kill that 75 in one shot. He takes the second one. He manages to kill him the third one, so he knew that, but still he went for it. He puts one shot into the T125, and the object 704 finishes him off. There is his first kill. We've got the bad shot there again. He's hoping to put another shot into him, because every shot he puts into the bad shot, like him, he hasn't got armor, he only has health. Health is his counter to know exactly how much stuff he can do, because he has to pay with health for everything that he does, more or less. And every shot that he puts into the bad shot, it means that he's going to limit that bad shot more and more. So the battle is still at the start. 4-4 score, pretty tight. The right side is doing okayish. Really, the hill, the enemy did a mistake that they didn't send tanks to the hill. It would have helped them on this battle. Let's see, are there any dead tanks? It looks like there is only a 50B, so they only said one tank. Our team lost only one IS-3 there and the KV-3. So right now, even though this is a tank, as I said, as I was speaking before, paying with your health for what you do. This is why you keep your health for situations like this. So he sees the opportunity that he can pretty much clear the hill. He has enough shots, he has enough power in his autoloader to be able to clear this hill. So he tries a T-57 Heavy. Unfortunately, for the first shot, he needed 2 shots to perma-track this T-57 Heavy. Actually, not even perma-track. Perma-track means keeping him in place all the time. But he needed 2 shots. So right now he left that guy on very low health. He didn't lose any health in the process because he was in a really good position. And so when he's reloading, he's trying to get away as much as he can from the battlefield. And as you can see, he has enough health in order to try and do some aggressive things, but you know, so he can still do it. He can still try go to the hill and do something, but if he gets hit by, for example, something that leaves him on 1000 health or maybe even less, because if you're a one-shot kill with the Waffenträger, you're just a one-shot kill. You're never going to have Spartan on this tank. So the Batcher did a very big mistake trying to kill the Allied ISA there. There is the Yak Tiger. He's going to regret his decision very, very much. This IS-8 just managed to get right in front of him, and he manages to kill the Yak Tiger 88. He pretty much did there about 1200 damage, something about that. And so he managed to pull the scores back a little bit. It's 7-8 right now. He knows there is a low health T-57 Heavy on the hill, so if he manages to kill that guy with one shot, the kill is secure. And with the gun with this accuracy, is not really going to be that hard. He gets spotted. There is a T-57. He really didn't have gun depression at first, but he managed to get in place. And he killed a T-57 Heavy. There is a Rheinmetall. He backs away just as the Rheinmetall probably was about to fire, and backs off just a little bit too much. He was still spotted at this point, and one of the tanks on the right manages to put one shot into him. That's actually the tier 7 SU-12244. Ruinberg puts a shot into the IS-8. Game has passed the half of his reload. He is pretty much almost done. And the Ruinberg fires. He gets an above average roll. He kills the IS-8. Right now game is reloaded and he will be able to kill this Ruinberg pretty easily. He also gets an above average roll and kills the Ruinberg from 598. So he managed to get the hill right now. The right part is full of enemy tanks, so he needs to flank and kill them first. He sees the opportunity to kill some of the enemy tank destroyers on this part of the map. Easy kills. SU-12244, and there is his Top Gun. So now that he got his Top Gun, the game for him is just really beginning, because it's really beginning. He got 6 kills, he has a big amount of damage, yes, but right now it starts getting critical. First of all, because if he dies, he's on very low health. Most of the enemy tanks, even the IS-3s, if the IS-3 is shooting HE, he can one-shot kill him. So IS-7 manages to kill him very quickly, picking up the 7th kill. Every single enemy tank, if he's shooting HE, except for the Tortoise, can one-shot kill him. If he dies at this point, the chances are his team is just going to lose. So right now he had health, he could risk. There is the IS-3. First shot hits the top of the turret, second one finishes him off. There is his Bradley Walters battle, and he's going for a reload again. Fortunately, no artillery for him in this game. If there wasn't artillery, he was probably dead by now, but in the same time, if there was artillery, he wouldn't have played this aggressive, so you don't really know. He's almost gone through the reload, and there we go. He's reloaded. So the tortoise, he knows there isn't anyone behind this tortoise, so he can just jump on him pretty much. He must be careful not to suicide, because he knows the enemy Waffenträger and the A75 are in the enemy base, so the tortoise is trying to run away. He hasn't got a chance, and he picks up the 9th kill just before the enemy 704, the ally 704, landing the shot at him. So he got his 9th kill, so now he has a chance for a Pulse medal actually, because the Rally Walter is at 8 kills, the Pulse medal is at 10 kills. So he has 3 shots left, he's not going through a reload, he's trying to make the best he can out of this game. So it's 13-10, the game is really looking very well for them. The enemy Waffenträger, however, does have a pretty good position. There is enemy 75, he manages to kill him. Now he's going through a reload. There are 3 minutes of the game left. The Object 704, as you can see, and a T-57 Heavy are going for the enemy Waffenträger now. If that guy was a Jackpanzer, he could kill one of the attackers, easily defend against the other one. As you can see, the T-57 Heavy is playing cautiously because that Waffenträger can kill him in one shot. So the Waffenträger is coming. He's a one-shot kill right now. He has 4 shots left. He doesn't need to reload. There is 1.5 minutes remaining. But that IS-3, the Waffenträger is clearly going to spot the IS-3 before it happens the other way. So the IS-3 needs right now. If you were in the IS-3, guys, just go forward. I'm sure most of you would do that. So in fact, all of you would do that. Just go spot the Waffenträger to get his 11th kill and secure the victory. Instead, he just camps there, even though he can take some shots. And pretty much, as you're going to see, he's going to basically steal the victory. What's gonna happen? They're not going to lose, but as you can see, they're running out of time. Game can't really do anything, because if he tries to move, the enemy Waffenträger will spot him before it happens the other way. So because of that IS-3 that kept camping, they're just going to lose the game. 15 seconds left. He tries to put a couple of blind shots just in case. Unfortunately, it's not happening, and the game has ended. And that was pretty unfortunate. So because of that IS-3 there, they managed to get a draw instead of a defeat. However, Game had a very good game, and he managed to pick up a Pulse medal, 10 kills. So that being said, let's see the post-game stats and shed a man tear. So unfortunately, despite Game's efforts, this has been a draw. However, he did manage to score an impressive amount of kills. He did get an impressive amount of experience and damage. So he got Mastery Badge, Ace Tanker, Fire for Effect, Duelist, Bruiser, Pulse Metal, Top Gun, High Caliber, and let's see. So 9300 damage, 9366 damage, 10 kills, and as you can see, 1400 experience with a similar tank. With, for example, a heavy tank in this kind of result, you would have had more experience because you would have spotted the targets for yourself. So what I was saying, he didn't spot targets for himself, but he did manage to pretty much do most of his team's work. Still, unfortunately, not good enough. 31 shots fired, 26 hit, 22 of those penetrated, and this massive amount of damage again, and damage below 400. So yeah, this was Game in his Waffenträger, showing how it's done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tank review of the Waffenträger, and if you did, don't forget to rate, and if you're not subscribed to my channel, and if you enjoy this kind of videos that I do, don't hesitate to subscribe. And guys, thanks for watching, and have an absolutely awesome day. See you later.